where's our red line? You know, what's the final straw with Andrew? He's been caught lying, and he's been emailing this convicted paedophile.
Yeah, but then what would he do then for the rest of his life? He's only in his early mid-60s, isn't he? What's he actually supposed to do for the next 20 years?
Well, that's not my problem.
That's not your problem. It's his problem. Yeah. But it's the King's problem.
Do you remember, Phil, at the very beginning, when this Epstein thing first started, Fergie and he did make a bit of an effort. Do you remember there was he went on television and he was packing up little parcels for people?
Very well, probably. During COVID.
Yes, during COVID. And I thought, that is the route he will take. But has he done that? Absolutely not.
No.
All he's done is played golf, watched television, and go riding around the Windsor estate.
He said, didn't he, in the Emily Maitlis interview, that he was going to sort of try and make amends by getting involved in anti-slavery charity, which I think Beatrice or Eugenia are involved in, aren't they?
Yeah.
But we haven't seen any of that, have we?
We haven't seen
anything. So we haven't seen any kind of, Profumo-esque attempt.
That's what I thought he might do.
Yeah,
but
it's
Profumo got out of it. Well, you're too young to remember that.
But he was younger, and he had, several decades to do it. Andrew hasn't got the time or the intelligence or the ability to do it. I don't think.
I don't think he's got the inclination.
Or the inclination.
I think he's. I think it's just the epitome. It kind of winds me up, this story. It really does, because he's been caught red-handed, and then the news will just disappear, and then there'll be another one in the 6 months' time. We're having the same conversation, the same. What are the repercussions?
Because we've got Virginia Giuffre's book coming out, her posthumous book. But that's obviously going to.
Phil, apparently, all the staff at Royal Lodge are really worried because they don't know exactly where their next paycheck is going to come from, and Fergie and Andrew, and I include Fergie in this, but they both think it will all go away. But they cannot think that anymore because these emails are going to keep coming out. But they are just sitting tight, imagining this horrible scandal will just go away, like scandals have a habit of doing. But I'm with you, Matt, on this. I don't think this is going to go away at all.
No. Epstein was convicted in 2008, maybe 2007, or one of the two. He met Andrew in 2010. The picture and the email came out in 2011. He died in 2019. This has been going on for years and years and years, and we're constantly in the same situation with Andrew. It's too much.
Yep, so at risk of repeating myself, I don't quite know what the King's going to do. I think it's very, very difficult.
I'm sure he doesn't either.
No, I'm sure. I think he's probably.
Well, answers on a postcard to Buckingham Palace, if any of our viewers have any ideas.
Your viewers will tell you, I'm sure there'll be a wide... He'll claim that at the end of the day, he's never been convicted of anything.
Which is true.
Which is true.
Yes.
He has already paid a heavy price. But as you said, I don't think that's enough anymore.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. But what will happen? We're in the dark, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, we are in the dark, and as I say, Groundhog Day, we'll be talking about this until something is done with Andrew. Yeah. We talk about Prince William.
The trouble is, we talk about stripping Harry and Meghan of their titles, and then next in line you've got Andrew, haven't you? So, we're going to have to chop away, taking people out the line of succession. We're going to be, chopping away half of the line of succession. The way
stripping a title is not that easy.
No, it's not. It's not easy. It's not easy at all.
And I don't really see. I mean, I know the people, the mayor or the people of York want. They would be delighted if his title was stripped. But it's not that easy. Also, it was a gift from his mother, the Queen, on his wedding day. Yeah. And what right would Charles have to go against his mother's wishes? There's all that mother thing involved as well. So it's the easiest thing to do is rather hope it'll go away, which of course we know it won't.
No. Well, things like getting rid of the title, Order of the Garter, etc. These are just like symbolic changes, aren't they? These are just symbolic punishments rather than him actually facing up to what he's done about lying.
It'll just make him more and more unfriendly, if you see what I mean.
But my idea is he's probably got loads of friends in the Middle East or the Far East. He could go and have a lovely life playing golf in the sunshine.
Like Juan Carlos went.
If I was him, I'd go and live somewhere else. I'd say, well, I'm not wanted anymore. It's fairly obvious I've got no future here. Start a new life while you can.
While you can, exactly.
Edward VIII and Wallis Simpson spent their days over in France.
Whether the estranged wife would go with him or not, I don't. You know much better than I do.
I think she might have to. I think out of loyalty, I think she might have to.
Yeah. Just going to run and run and run.
They're tied together, aren't they?
Let's talk about Prince William. We were shown this video in advance under embargo, and we weren't really warned that this is the video that. Sorry, it's a video that William did on World Mental Health Day. He was speaking to a very impressive woman, Rhian Mannings, whose son died and then her husband took her life. And I wasn't prepared for actually seeing how emotional it was, with Prince William welling up in tears. What was your thoughts when you saw that of this video of William?
I think it struck a chord, and you know, he would not want to be seen crying, and it really struck a chord, and the unhappiness and the tragedy of what happened to this woman's husband when she still had. I mean, when the baby died and the husband then committed suicide. I thought that was it. I didn't realise she still had a family, and that was so tragic. And I think it just struck a chord with William.
Well, I think anyone would be moved by it, but she herself, the woman, said to him, "You've suffered loss yourself, didn't she?" And he didn't sort of, you know, be sort of acknowledge that, you know. And
she was very motherly and really in charge. I thought she was absolutely brilliant and sort of almost mothered William in that moment.
I mean, we see his caring side all the time, don't we? I mean, he's a great hugger. He hugs people. He's not afraid to hug complete strangers, and you know, he's talked about his mother in the past, and you know, I'm sure both he and Catherine were very upset when that poor girl, the receptionist, killed herself after that hoax business. Terrible, you know, I think that was very upsetting for them. So, you know, it's not the first time we've seen his caring side. Some people say he's, you know, letting it hang out a bit too much for a future king, but we're in a different world now, aren't we? We're not in the same world as the Queen and Prince Philip. You know, in the sort of era they were brought up in, it's always been different since Diana, and I think he's in tune with the.
And he's judged it really well. I think William has judged it, and you don't feel as though he's putting it on like you feel that.
No, you feel it's genuine, don't you?
You feel it's totally genuine.
That was a completely natural moment. Yes. Wasn't expecting it. But they could have left that on the cutting floor. They didn't. If William didn't want us to see him welling up like that, it wasn't live. They could have said, "Oh, we'll cut that little bit out and just carry on with the conversation."
I think he's sending out a message that this is how it's going to be when he's king, isn't he? That he's going to be more touchy-feely, you know, rightly or wrongly. People have their opinions, you know, and we hope he doesn't overdo it. But I think at the moment he's pretty much in keeping with the sort of modern sort of, you know, modern way of these things.
Well, he's got to. I mean, the monarchy has to evolve and it has to change.
Yeah.
And basically, it hasn't really changed under Charles. Why would it? Although he's far more touchy-feely than his mother.
We don't want him weeping and wailing every 5 minutes. No. He's got to have a stiff upper lips up for some occasions.
Yeah,
you know, he will have to go to some very important things when he already does. You know. Some very formal occasions, you know, commemorations and memorials and things where he is going to have to be sort of in control of his emotions, you know, at the cenotaph, for example, you know, that sort of thing. We can't have him sort of getting too upset. But
Phil, we haven't seen this before, though, have we? We haven't seen William welling up before.
Sure we have, but I can't remember when it was.
Or other royals, other older royals back in, you know, in previous decades. I know King Charles referenced that he was in tears when he was showing some of the get well cards recently when he had cancer, but yeah, I think it's quite rare and maybe welcome, but not, as you say, Phil, not all the time.
We saw the Queen well up when Britannia was being decommissioned.
And then she said, "Oh no, it was the wind."
It was the wind. Yeah.